Hello and welcome to the course of Advaita Vedanta based on Prabhuji's book Advaita Vedanta, Being the Self. It is based on the Hindu philosophy of non-dualism. Advaita means non-dual and Vedanta means the end of the Vedas or the last conclusion of the Vedas. It refers to the non-duality or absence of duality, which means that the path of Advaita Vedanta recognizes a single reality behind this universe of names and forms. Throughout the history, the search for reality or truth sparked debates and presented many philosophical views. There were many who were contemplating on the question, is there a constant reality, or is there an absolute reality that is not subjected to changes or circumstances? There were many great beings in the history of humankind that presented those questions and they were contemplating about them. And this is the main subject that Advaita Vedanta is questioning. Is there an absolute truth that is indifferent to changes, space, and circumstances? If we look at our life from the day we were born, from the first breath that we took into this world, we are subjected to constant changes. Our body changes, our way of perceiving the world changes, and not only us, also the world around us is all the time in a constant change. Let's read from Prabhuji's book. We may dream that we are a butterfly, a fish, or even a Superman, but upon waking, we regain our previous identity. Hence, we differentiate everyday reality from dreams because they are fiction. And what this example came to teach us? We take our daily life, what we consider as reality, right? None of us will say that what we're experiencing during the day, what we're going through, the actions that we're taking is not a reality. We will all say, this is my life, this is the reality that I live in. The dream is something fiction. We don't take it as a reality, obviously. We just say, oh yeah, at night I dreamed that I'm such and such. Now, if we go deeper, we will see that the question that the Advaita Vedanta postulate or bring into the world is, okay, let's say we have the dream and we have our daily life. But can we relate to this world that we live in as a reality? Or is it also part of a dream? Or is it also not the absolute reality? Advaita postulates that what we perceive through the senses is illusory because it is subject to constant change. In other words, no temporary phenomenon can be considered real. And here we come to maybe the main point that differentiate something for being real or a dream or fictitious. And it lies in the understanding that what is going through constant change cannot be perceived or cannot be a reality or truth. Here Prabhuji mentioned that we look at the world through the senses. We are experience the world through our senses. We translate everything in our mind. There are different functions in our mind that translate everything that we're going through. But we all know that our senses are limited. Each one of us has a certain conditioning. The way that each one of us grew up, the different society that we were educated in, the place even that we were born in. So we can see that you can take even 4 or 5 people to the same place, you can put them all in a certain museum, if you bring them back, you will see that each one of them will describe his experience in a different way. So you cannot say that the external situation was different to each, because they were all in the same museum. But you can see that what was the difference between them is the way that they translated the experience in their mind. And it's not only that they translated it in a different way, it depends on the certain conditioning that they were at the same place at the same day, all of them together at the same time, but they experience it differently. So each one of us go into this in the world. We are going with a certain conditioning that put the stamp on how we will feel and how we will react and how we will behave. And to this we call reality, that this is the world that we live in. Let's read from Prabhuji's book. We can see that the hands of a clock rotate because the clock face stays still. Similarly, the perception of every movement requires both a changing element and invariable one. This is very essential for our understanding in the path of Advaita Vedanta. In order for us to experience the world and to go through everything that a human being goes through, we need this element that is changeable, but there must be also unchangeable element that is in each one of us, that because it exists, we are able to perceive or we are able to experience this changeable world. If, say, we were all the time in movement, we will not be able even to feel the movement of life. There is a need for an element that will play against this movement. And this is exactly the unchangeable element that exists in each one of us. And in Advaita Vedanta, this reality, or this one reality that is not subjected to changes, is called Brahman. And what is the goal of human being? Is to realize this Brahmanic nature. We are here in this world in order to realize this Brahmanic nature that lies in the depth of each and every human being. All living beings carry a part of Brahman within them. There's no one creature that doesn't have this Brahmanic spark in it. So this divine spark this is where we are directed in the path of discovering ourselves. Now, let's talk about the term the self, because there is what we've known in the spiritual terminology about the self, and there is what commonly people think is the self. So I will read now a few phases of what people think that is the self. Yourself is your sense of who you are deep down, your identity. When you let someone else know you well, you reveal your true self to them. And I would like to go deep into this misunderstanding, because there is a big misunderstanding, a confusion here about what is the self. It's true that when we tell someone or reveal to someone a secret or something about ourselves, we are revealing some kind of a layer that is within our egoic identity. We are creatures that identified with the body, identified with the mind, identify with our emotions and feelings. This illusory creation is called ego. And there is the truth self, the truth self, which is our true identity, our true reality. And it's totally different than this egoic identity. So people think that it's the sense of who you are deep down, but let's stop for a second and think. Hold on. If I was born in a different state, with a different culture, with a different language, I would be a totally different person, right? Each one of us, if puts himself in a different place and space, he will see that he has different perception on the world. He will be a total different person. All these identifications and all these perceptions are illusory. It is not our true self. It is not the self that Advaita Vedanta directs us to. The path of Advaita Vedanta, if we go back, tries to take us to the unchangeable reality of ourselves. In order to reveal the true self, we need to kind of unveil or peel our egoic identifications, peel them and peel until we realize our true nature, our Brahmanic nature. Our mind is our past. Our mind is everything that we know about ourselves, everything that people taught about us, about ourselves, things that we were told and we believed. And not only that, we also built our self-image on what people were thinking or told us about us. If we were told that we are intelligent or unintelligent, beautiful or smart, etc., this is how we build our self-image. But this self-image is illusory. It's not our true nature. And we are in the path of revealing our true nature. And the path of Advaita Vedanta can take us there. So it's very important that when we say, oh, reveal to the world your true self, it's important that we will understand what self are we referring to. We are not referring to this egoic characteristic or this egoic illusory identification, but we are talking about the true self, this self that exists in us and in every human being, and there are no differentiation as we see in our daily life between us. There are four main yogic methods: Hatha Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Yoga means union, and each one of the paths of yogic method is directing us to discover this union through different practices or methods. The Hatha Yoga, for example, is using the bodily postures. We learn how to breathe and to move our body in such a harmony that we will realize and discover this union through the body and through the different postures that the body is taking. Bhakti Yoga is doing so through the emotion and devotion. Karma Yoga through the action. And Jnana Yoga, it's through knowledge. Prabhuji writes, thus, Jnana Yoga is a path that aims to realize the essential unity of the part and the whole through knowledge. So Jnana means knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and it's the practical aspect of this yogic system of Advaita Vedanta. But what type of knowledge we are referring to when we speak about knowledge in this spiritual path? Normally, when we speak about knowledge, we understand that there are subjects that we are not familiar with or subjects that we are not knowledgeable about, and we learn about them. We usually go to books, we go to teachers, or we go to Google, we learn something about this subject and we feel a certain understanding, or not only understand it, but we also feel that we are controlling the subject. I'm well versed in the subject, I'm well familiar, I can be considered as a scholar or as a knowledgeable person. In this type of knowledge, what we usually do, the human beings, we are adding information to our memory. And as much as one is able to memorize more or to know more, he is more knowledgeable. We are definitely putting in some mental effort in order to add to ourselves knowledge or information that we didn't have before. Now, when we talk about Jnana Yoga, we are talking about total different way to use knowledge and what type of knowledge we are referring to. So in Jnana Yoga, we are not adding to ourselves and to our memory and to our mind knowledge of something that we are not familiar with. In Jnana Yoga, it is more a destruction of what we believe to be or what we believe we know, in order to realize a true nature that already exists, but we are with the time have forgotten about. Remember that we said that we are unrevealing, or we are peeling ourselves from our illusory identification. It is for the recognition of our true nature. This is a very crucial point in the understanding of what are we doing here. We can see clearly that the knowledge will not lead us to realization. And as Prabhuji says, it is not in the way that we learn at school. Because Jnana Yoga is not a process of studying, but of remembering who we really are, of our true nature. We are not trying to inquire more information and realize or understand something that we are not it at this certain point of life. This Brahmanic nature, our true nature, exists. It's us. It's what we truly are. But we've been going through a process of forgetfulness. And now we need to go through a process of re-rememberness. So it's not like we go and learn new things about ourselves or new things that we didn't know before. The whole idea is to peel ourselves from previous knowledge, to peel ourselves from this illusory identification, from the mind, from our thoughts, from the preconceptions that we have, in order to let this true nature reveal itself. Many can ask also, what is the place of the spiritual master, of the realized one? Why do we need a teacher or a guru, a spiritual master, if all what we need is to realize what it is already in our depths? And do I need a teacher at all? And here comes what Prabhuji says. Scriptures, the master's teaching, and sadhana aim to awaken the memory of the disciple. The place of the spiritual master is important in the disciple, because the spiritual master lives according to his true nature. He already realized the true nature, is not identified with this illusory egoic identity, and by walking the path, the spiritual master can help the disciple reveal this true nature. And there are many ways that it can be done, but the spiritual master already walked this path, and he can lead us to this realization. It is also important that the disciple will know how to use the spiritual master correctly, how to use it right in your spiritual path, in your spiritual evolution. Prabhuji says here that the whole point of the sadhana, the scriptures, and the spiritual master is to awaken this rememberness of the disciple. It's to help you remember. It's not to add something to you. It's direct you all the time just to get closer to yourself and to get more closer to this rememberness. So there are people who are usually taking the, I would say, the negative direction that says, okay, if we're not talking about knowledge, then we don't need the books. If we don't need to learn, we don't need the teacher. And we will just sit and wait until the true self decides to reveal itself to me. But this is not the way. There is a way to wait in the spiritual path. The Jnana yoga, or this knowledge, acts like an acid. It's an acid that dissolves our false identification. It's an acid that dissolves the mind. That anything that we feel that is so solid in this life dissolve, and we are able to give place to a much more real, or to our true nature reveal itself. And it's very important for all of us as aspirants and spiritual seekers to understand the direction, because the understanding of the direction will help us to take the spiritual path in the right direction. I would like to end this class by reading a paragraph from Prabhuji's book. As an egoic entity, you are an illusion. An unreal being cannot aspire to be authentic. Truth can only be revealed in a moment free of what is known, of memory, of past. You cannot search, reach, achieve, or know the truth. You can only be it. Suddenly you become aware that you are what you aspire to. Usually when we search for something or we look for something, we look at something that is outside of us, or we are searching for something that we think that we don't have or that we are missing. When in reality, we don't need to search for something outside of us or in the external world. We need to look within ourselves. The direction is not out, but in. The direction is more of self-investigation that will dissolve our illusory identity or our illusory identification. And at the end, as Prabhuji says here, we will just realize that we've always been this. Only in a moment that is free, it's very important, that is free of what is known, of memory, of past. Only in this moment you can become aware that you are what you aspire to. And then the search stops. Then we sit in our true nature and we stop this constant achievement or running after something that we think that we will achieve or will give us something. In a moment that is free of our past, of our perceptions, of our identifications, at the moment that we will be free, this is when we will realize our true nature. And I believe that this is the moment when we will feel that we can rest. We can rest in our true nature, and all this anxious and all this anxiety to find something or to look for something will just disappear. And we can really sit in our authentic nature, which is the self. Thank you very much for joining me. We will meet in our next class. Jai Prabhuji. Thank you.